Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're here on November 7th for our first regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for this month. If I could ask everybody to please turn off or silence your cell phones for the meeting and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the beginning. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. First, we have approval of our agenda today. We have 8 items. I am not aware of any that need to be changed or removed. Does anybody else have comments?
No.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Great, and on to community informational items. Commissioner Fiedler, do you have anything for us today?
None for me, thanks.
Commissioner Marcella?
None for me either, thank you.
Okay, I would just, I think, take the opportunity to kind of summarize. Can you let that person? Thanks. We've had a couple of conversations about the continued pursuit of the Justice Center in the last few weeks, and ultimately gave direction to respond to the underfunding courts on not pursuing our grant with them, and instead we are going to work on working with other counties and lobbying or advocating to the state for larger support in the state courts and other mandates with the jail and justice systems.
No. Thank you, though.
No.
I do. Do you know? I don't think so.
I did want to, we actually left that meeting without a formal decision, and so I wonder if maybe we want to just be sure to kind of have status updates for our regular and work session meetings together, and perhaps put on our next regular agenda item in December, or next regular meeting agenda, to kind of make a more formal statement and or decision collectively as the board. That's all I have.
I think, yeah, and just, I mean, so I guess, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we have some upcoming meetings with the design team and other stakeholders, and I think we, as we did when we did the 1-year delay a year ago, you know, we actually had sort of like a written set of next steps for staff and consultants, and we probably need to get to that point and give some clearer direction when we're ready. But I think we're still in kind of regroup mode.
Yeah, so maybe put that on our next agenda and see fleshing out what that agenda item discussion actually looks like between now and when we post, but great. Okay, can I move on to public comments? Or did anything else come to you? Okay. Moving on to public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak can request that in the chat. Please state your name and address. I will ask the room and those folks on Zoom. You'll have 3 minutes to present to the board. We will not participate in necessarily a discussion, but can assign any follow-up conversations to staff, and certainly connect with folks as appropriate. Are there any public comments in the room? Jeez. I don't see any. Any public comments from folks joining us online? All right, I don't see any. I'll just give another few seconds if there's anything. All right. Okay, no public comments today, so we'll move into our items of new business. First on our agenda is the discussion and consideration of the Lake County government investment policies. This will be led by our county manager, Tim Bergman, and we also have our treasurer, Patrick Smith, here with us to discuss. Go ahead, Tim.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. So as we continue to create policies and standard operating procedures for Lake County government, this is one area that should the Board of County Commissioners choose to adopt it, would expressly authorize Treasurer Smith and his deputy to administer and create with guardrails outlined in the investment policy for Lake County having an investment policy. So that is the short of it. But really it's just creating a concrete policy for the treasurer's office to work from in terms of investments for Lake County government, with the objectives of safety, liquidity, and having a return on our investments. So I don't know if the treasurer has any comments. This was work done by the policy advisor and myself and the treasurer's office, and working with other various counties that already have established investment policies.
Patrick?
So really everything, a policy is good to be in place. I've always had a good relationship with Robert Casasali, who we have billions of dollars invested in his company. Currently, year to date, we've had $683,000 worth of interest come in through the investments, of about 22 million invested in different investment vehicles.
Any questions for staff from the board? I don't have anything for them.
Has this been reviewed by legal?
No, unfortunately, but that's.
Sorry, I made that assumption.
No, I looked at it this morning.
It's pretty in-depth.
I was gonna say it's in depth. The only thing I would like to have the opportunity to do is just to check some of the statutory references and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
my recommendation would be to go on. I didn't see anything in terms of the guidance given. I just want to vet that. And so my recommendation would be to approve pending final legal review, if that's okay with the board.
And I mean, yeah, or if there's no urgency, I would recommend to just table it to our next regular meeting, and maybe if Patrick finds anything that kind of conflicts with how you've been operating, or we need to kind of tweak any of those.
No, that would be the question, and I didn't know if Patrick had had a chance to look at it too. Okay, so.
I don't have any issues with it. I mean, Colorado State Law, State Statute 24-75-601 gives the Lake County Treasurer authorization and limited to invest in those types of securities as allowed by Colorado State law.
Right.
There's no limitation on the asset mix as long as investments meet the guidelines in place by law.
Okay. What is the preference of the board to table for our next?
I would
Okay.
like to table it. I think it, just having the document only to review this morning, didn't give enough time to adequately go through it and decipher if I had any questions for legal or had anything to clarify, and so I would feel more comfortable if we had a little more time with it to review it.
I agree with that, because, yeah, I mean, I sort of skimmed the objectives, but that's a pretty,
Surface level.
surface level review, which looked good, but.
Sounds good. All right, I'll entertain a motion then to table this item to our first meeting in December.
So moved,
Second,
Any further discussion?
none for me, thank you.
fine for me,
All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. No, thank you, Patrick. All All right, so moving on to our second item. We have discussion and consideration of Get Outdoors Leadville lease with Colorado Mountain College Leadville. And it says, Chris and Adam Bay will lead this.
Chris, unfortunately, Adam wasn't on the invite for this, so he wasn't aware of this item, so I told him I would cover it. This is super simple in that now that Get Outdoors Leadville has been brought into the county's pros department. Previously, the lease that they had with Colorado Mountain College for their facility up there was directly with Get Outdoors Leadville, so all this is simply an assignment of that lease to the county in order to make that transition. It has been approved by CMC, and so the only little bit strange thing about it is since they're no longer a separate entity, Vanessa would have signed that lease before, and so since she's no longer with the county, it has to be signed by all three parties, the college, the original tenant, if you will, and the county. So my recommendation is to go ahead and authorize Adam Bay to sign on behalf of Gold, since it's a part of his department now, and then Sarah, you would sign on behalf of the county accepting the assignment from Gold.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris on the assignment?
None for me.
None for me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to authorize Adam Bay to sign on behalf of the prior or former Get Outdoors Leadville Executive Director that is no longer employed.
So moved?
A second?
Any further discussion?
No.
I thought that could be more to that sentence.
Sorry. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
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 And I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the assignment of the lease with Colorado Mountain College, now to be with Lake County government under the pros department for the Get Outdoors Leadville hub space.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda, discussion and consideration of resolution 23-19 to partner with Colorado Mountain College in applying for and distributing the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship, or COSI, C-O-S-I, 2024-25 match scholarship, or funds scholarship. Do we have Marjorie?
Brandy, who will be in for staff.
Brandy, okay. We have Brandy here, and this is an ongoing and renewal of an ongoing partnership and program. So Brandy, would you like to give us a brief overview?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name is Brandy Bays Ballard. I am the Director of Strategic Initiatives at CMC and oversee all of the COSI funds that we have. And we have worked in partnership with local communities, including Lake County, for many years. I want to say it's either 2014 or 2015. It has been as long as we've had COSI. And we have come back each year working with the counties to get new allocations, and just wanted to share in the academic year 2022-2023, we dispersed just over $19,000 in Lake County specific scholarships, and where we do prioritize our Leadville campus and Salida campus students for those funds. And we're able to serve about 30 students last year in Lake County and in Chaffee County.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brandy.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Brandy?
None for me.
None for me.
Just something coming to mind, Brandy, as you say, you were able to help 30 students. Are those, do those include the dual enrollment, or is that not part of the is that kind of a different?
It's a different, pot, if you will, of funds. This is for degree-seeking students completely in their post-secondary education, whether they're pursuing a certificate, an associate's, or a bachelor's degree with us.
Excellent. Thank you. I will entertain a motion for approving resolution 23-19, the partnership with Colorado Mountain College in applying for and distributing the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship, or COSI, for the 2024-25 matching fund scholarship.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion?
None for me?
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Thanks for joining us today, Brandy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all.
All right, item 4 on our agenda, then we have a discussion and consideration of our Safeway liquor license renewal, led by the clerk's office, and you have some information for us?
Yes, so we do have all of their paperwork and their fees. Upon looking into it, we haven't heard anything negative in regards to their liquor license. So we do suggest that we move forward with allowing them to have it.
Do we have anybody with us from Safeway? Okay. Sounds good. Any questions before I open this up for any public comment?
None for me?
None for me.
Alrighty. Because it is a liquor license, renewal and permitting, I will now open this up for public comment. Do we have any public comment from folks in the room on the application request? Do you have any comments from folks online? Okay, I don't see any. I knew last time, and I'm afraid I failed to share some questions with legal to ask of Safeway, but I think last time in the request for the expansion of their license, we had some questions about you know, food product, and really we're curious how much of offering the sales of these beverages supported maybe the revenue, or what the drive really was for the expansion. There were some things that we saw in our criteria of consideration of proximity to other licenses. On our next item on the agenda is the Leadville liquor license renewal. And so there were some criteria that could allow us to further speculate on the expansion of that license, and of course now here the renewal of the license. I do think all those questions are still things we should ask, but at the moment I don't have a particular drive to deny the application unless the board has any any other thoughts.
No, I don't think I think we need to have further discussions with legal about what we can or can't do with the renewal, because I think it's different than a new application.
Yeah.
It's essentially, you'd have to have some cause to look at how they haven't adequately performed under their existing license, and as we heard from the clerk's office, it doesn't appear that there've been any complaints or issues with their performance since they expanded their license.
Yeah, just to bring up kind of that constant conversation about product available and any other issues that might, or questions from the community that we often get.
Yeah.
But, all right, I will not having any public comment on the application, I'll close the public input portion here. And I'll entertain a motion for Safeway's liquor license renewal.
I will make a motion that we approve Safeway's liquor license renewal.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me.
For me.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And next on our list, we have item number 5, the discussion and consideration of Leadville liquor license renewal. Again, it looks like we've got some information.
Kinda same thing as Safeway. We haven't found anything negative about their liquor license. or their performance. So we do have all of their fees and all of their paperwork ready to go.
Very good. I will open up, public, input for this application and this renewal for Leadville Liquors. Do we have any public comment?
I will add to my licensing on maybe the next hearing. I'll put in the new paperwork that I called about tastings.
Okay,
I dug into stuff, and tastings should be licensed through the county here, at least where I am through the county, and probably through the city as well, to be able to do tastings. And it's a new law that's gone into place over and over, so I contacted the county clerk about that, and so I'll be following through with that and paying my fees so we could do tasting stuff, and that's all I really have to add with that. I didn't get it, I haven't gotten it in for this particular one, but then maybe the next one, you guys will see my paperwork for that. It's a $25 fee and to add for, and with tips training from anybody that's boring to allow tastings to happen, where you can show, allow people to taste.
thank you. Can you please state your name and
Chris.
address for the record?
Yeah, my name is
That's
Chris
okay.
Tuffy, and the owner of Leadville Liquors.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Any questions? Well, any comments, I don't suppose, from online, public comments on the liquor license renewal application? I don't see any. All right, I'll close the public input portion. And any questions from the board before considering a motion?
None for me?
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal for Leadville liquor license.
So moved?
Second?
Any further discussion?
None for me.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you so much. And we'll move on to item 6. We have discussion and consideration of the Twin Lakes Inn liquor license renewal.
Kind of same thing, we looked into everything, performance is doing well, and we do have all of their paperwork and their fees ready as well.
Any questions on Twin Lakes Inn before opening it up for public comment?
No.
Nope.
All right, I will open up for public comment for the liquor license renewal of Twin Lakes Inn. Are there any public comments desired from in the room or online? Seeing none, I will close the public input portion. And if there are no other questions for the clerk's office, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the Twin Lakes Inn liquor license renewal.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion?
None for me?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
All right, that's okay. Great. Alrighty. Moving on to item number 7, we have discussion and consideration of Planning Commission recommendation on land use file 23-33, an application for the expansion of an existing group camp located at 2071 County Road 9A. The joint hearing for the file was held on October 23rd with the Board of Commissioners, and we have our Community Planning and Development Director, Ann Schneider, here to lead us in this discussion. Hi, Ann.
Hi, thank you so much. So I have a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and bear with me, it is a amended statement of motion, so it's going to be a little lengthy, and I'll go ahead and read it in the record.
Can you, okay, you've got it pulled on. Can you just give me
sure.
just a second so I can pull up and follow you? I'm sorry, I didn't
Absolutely.
have that queued up here. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm in the minutes part.
No
I
worries.
need to get through the whole minute. All right, go ahead, Ann. Thank you.
Great. At the October 23rd, 2023 joint public hearing, the Lake County Planning Commission unanimously approved an amended motion for conditional approval with 3 members present in favor. This original motion was made by Joey Edwards and seconded by Abby Dahlman. Joey moved that the Planning Commission recommend approval of file number 2333, the Saguache Base Camp Group Camp CUP, to the Board of County Commissioners with the following conditions. Number 1, file 2333 Saguache Base Camp is considered as an application for revision to the conditionally approved land use file number 21-10, the Iron Mass Camp. And as such, this approval is contingent upon compliance with all the conditions of approval for said file unless amended by new conditions of this approval. Number 2, on-site parking shall be provided and be limited to no more than 9 at any one time. Number 3, there shall be no guest parking on or impeding traffic along Forest Service Road 103, also known as County Road 9A. Number 4, the applicant shall address all of the Leadville Lake County Fire Rescue and the Office of Emergency Management comments provided within the staff report, prior to the start of operations. And number 5, all statements and representations made by the applicant in its application and in hearing shall be binding and considered as conditions of approval. And further, they found that 1, the proposed conditional use is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies contained in the Lake County Comprehensive Plan, that the proposed conditional use does conform to the requirements and provisions of the code, that as conditioned, adequate public safety, transportation, and utility facilities will be available to serve the subject property while maintaining sufficient levels of service for existing development, that as conditioned, the proposed conditional use is not likely to be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of county residents or to cause hardship for neighboring persons. That as conditioned, the proposed conditional use is consistent with and in harmony with the neighboring land uses and future intended land uses in the area. That as conditioned, the proposed conditional use will not result in overly extensive use of the land relative to the surrounding land. That as conditioned, the proposed conditional use will not result in traffic congestion or hazards to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. That as conditioned, the proposed conditional use will not unnecessarily scar the land on which use would be located. And that as conditioned, the proposed site for the conditional use is and will be free from natural or man-made hazards, or that such hazards can and will be adequately mitigated. Then following the deliberation on the motion, the following amended motion was made by Joey Edwards, seconded by Abby Dahlman, and unanimously approved by a roll call vote of all members. Joey made a motion to amend the motion on the floor for file number 2333, Saguache Base Camp Group Camp CUP. And the condition 2 was amended to read, on-site parking shall be provided and be limited to no more than 9 at any one time, and all vehicles on site must fit inside those designated parking spaces. And then a 6th condition was added. Saguache Base Camp must have a current agreement with the Snowmobile Club or confirmation from the Forest Service that a special use permit is not required for winter access. And so you'll see in the motion that staff just offered a little bit of guidance on the deliberation considerations. And so it was just the intent of the Planning Commission to consider other modes of transportation that might be used to utilize the site. And so they just wanted to say that all, whatever types of vehicles, if they had a trailer, if they use snowmobiles to get to the site, that they're all contained within that space, that designated parking space. And then they just wanted to encourage appropriate management of the winter access in respect of the Forest Service Road 103. And so you may recall that that was a condition of the first CUP, coordination with the Snowmobile Club, and we do have a letter in the file that memorializes the coordination between this group camp and the grooming efforts that are being done, that approved use by the guests of the group camp. And so there has been discussion between the applicant and the Snowmobile Club. Likewise, staff had a meeting with the Forest Service about whether or not, and we did have a written response from them, that as long as the operations themselves are contained on private property, access on the Forest Service road is available to everyone, and wouldn't be limited in any way or manner to the commercial operation. So we do have those in the file and memorialized within our department. So I'm happy to answer any questions that everyone might have or have any clarity.
For winter operations, I would imagine, excuse me, you need to trailer a snowmobile, park, go up to the group camp, come back down. Is that?
So they, actually the use guide and the operation guide that they submitted, they really encourage people to park kind of at the junction and come from there and not necessarily trailer up, because it might be, so I think maybe the trailering might be more like in the summer if someone wanted to bring an ATV up or something. But I think that the operations guide kind of encourages not really any like impact of like a trailer to the groomed winter access.
No, and I just, I guess with that, how do we keep the junction clear?
Right.
If somebody's got a trailer out there.
And we do have.
Like what does that look like with communication with county operations to keep the junction clear of snow?
Sure. And we do have several different, you will be hearing another CUP that uses the junction for coordination on outfitting and guiding. And I know that they provide some maintenance of the parking lot, and add porta potties and such. But certainly there are other uses that are utilizing the junction parking lot as well. So absolutely. There was suggestions in the hearing that more communication is put into the use guide for the camp to encourage carpooling, ride sharing, minimizing trips in and out as well. So possibly that could be a condition to further educate users about the experience and trying to maybe discourage the excessive parking in the junction.
So if they do have parking in the junction and need to take people up in a group to the camp, would that fall under outfitting and guiding?
No, I mean, that's still, this particular property owner lets people go self-guide to the site. Okay. They're not renting equipment, and they're not providing any guide services. It's just kind of a locational awareness of, you can park here and come in and access by snowmobile, or there's other options to get into the site that have less of an impact on that groomed access.
Would it be appropriate to add when we do have the special use permitting established, that anything that might be appropriately, once special use permitting is established in general, not just for outfitting guide, but like for that use, if that's a regular use of that parking area, that they might need to, the applicant might need to submit a special use permit or a temporary use permit.
I'm wondering if you'd want to do that within the conditional use permit, just because it's not, because of the degree of use. It's just it's just a guest parking and coming in, you're not really guiding a group or, routinely using the road on a pretty regular basis. It, could just be kind of minimal use, so maybe you'd want to do it within the conditional use permit. You certainly could use the special use permit, but I'm just wondering about the degree of use, and maybe putting something within the CUP might be a little more appropriate, but certainly that will be a tool that will be available coming up if you want to use that. But I think it might be designed a little bit more for a more intensive use.
I'm trying to think of a suggestion of the language that would be there, and also thinking about, the county could probably, stand to improve signage, out there on, maintenance, the routine maintenance and snow plowing that might happen, and so, because we do have other, like, the snowmobile parks, the groomer out there, and it's just, I think it works.
I wonder about
fine with a limited number of users.
requiring the owner operator of the group camp to coordinate with Public Works, and maybe an awareness that the county is looking at commercial uses that impact county roads, and obviously parking lots would be part of that. But that, so requiring coordination with Public Works, and that in the future, there may be the need for a special use permit based on, future planning work, something like that. But at least some coordination with, and we could, CPD could work with Public Works on the coordination, because that conversation is gonna come up again in another CUP. So I do think that that's a really probably good time to start talking about how do you coordinate and consider the commercial users are using a public, an access that you want to open to the public.
I think so too, and I wonder if we can add it in there as a condition, because I think when you look through the conditions with 9 at any given time, like that could be 9 snowmobiles, but then that also means that there are vehicles in the junction, so really that's more than 9 modes of transportation at any given time. And so I wonder if we can condition it that the applicant shall coordinate with Public Works and CPD through the special permitting process, once that comes online, for use of the Leadville Junction parking lot.
Sure, absolutely.
Just wonder whether, can we condition something upon something that doesn't exist yet? I just wonder if it's more like an informal communication that this is coming and you need to be aware of it, you know what I mean? Because we don't even know exactly what
the special use
that's gonna say, or if it will even impact. Wouldn't be shocking if it did, but.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you have 9 different users coming up to the group camp with 9 individual trailers, and you have the parking lot full, which wasn't my isn't my assumption of the typical use, but it sure could happen, and then,
Right. I think that what you could do is condition it that the coordination of the use of the junction parking lot must be approved by Public Works and CPD, and then as that tool, so on an annual basis maybe, because then that tool will be available in subsequent years. And so maybe it's an annual coordination, and which then annually we're looking at then we have a better idea and inventory of a year worth of impact and what that's meant, and how many vehicles it's meant, and then the appropriateness of running that through a special use permit. So you could allow use of the junction, or use of the junction will be reviewed on an annual basis, something like that. Which could trigger the ability to consider it when there's other tools available.
Okay. And you kind of could put something in there in terms of, to address, you can't require compliance with something that exists yet, but you can ask, put in there, I just look at it, it's not expressly there, that it will comply with all
future regulations.
Any current or future permit application requirements or something like that.
Okay.
Right.
Which is, kind of a given, right?
Well, it's a given, but this allows you then to expressly have it in the approval.
Right, and I think, if we kind of leave it silent, then there would be the idea that this occurred prior to the new
And they could argue it
regulation.
didn't apply to them.
I'm good. So,
If we wordsmith something that it shall comply, and it maybe, I think it would be, it'd be nice to have some kind of, ability to measure the impact on an annual basis, and then have a better idea of what kind of impact that we'd be looking to address.
Okay,
So,
so I'm good with adding that condition then.
I'm trying to write. Okay, how about, an added condition that says coordination of the use of Leadville Junction is approved by Public Works and Community Planning and Development on an annual basis, and that compliance regarding use or applicable fees will apply as appropriate as permitting and permissions develop at the county. How can we revise that? I was trying to listen to everybody, got a little run on there. Sorry, just redoing, okay.
If you wanna read again, I can try to.
Sure. Coordination of the use of the Leadville Junction is approved by Public Works and CPD on an annual basis. And then I have, and that, we could stop that there.
Yes.
And then, say, compliance regarding use.
will be subject to,
Say,
Will apply as,
the applicant will comply with all current and future permit requirements.
Okay.
That makes it simple.
Yeah. Will comply with all current and future requirements, permit requirements. Okay, so we've got those two additions.
Do you have that to add to the?
Yep.
Okay.
Cece's gonna,
Redo that, okay.
redo it, and then she'll bring it up for your signature.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so we've discussed the two additions of the conditions for the coordination and the approval with Public Works and CPD on an annual basis for the Leadville Junction use. And then the second, that the applicant will comply with all current and future permit requirements. Permit requirements for that area as well.
Yeah, I think it just.
I would like to.
Subject to the parking area and then.
Yeah, let's put that, let's add that in there for the Leadville Junction parking area specifically. Okay, and then I just had a comment on the just adding the word vehicles to the after 9. Cause I think in the original it said, it mentioned something about the, number of reservations, and I just for clarity, let's do the 9 vehicles after the word 9 in the parking on site, cause it just says no more than 9, so.
Does the amended motion have vehicles?
I didn't see it in there.
Okay.
Let's just put that, so it's clear. Okay, so with that, added language to the amended condition number 2. And then the 2 conditions around Leadville Junction. Do we have any other questions for Anne on file 23-33?
Not for me, everything else looks
No
good.
from me. Thank you.
Alright, I'll entertain a motion, for the approval of file 23-33, as read into the record, and moved by the planning commission, and then with the 2 additions, that the Board of Commissioners has discussed here today.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
none for me?
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cece. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, lost my agenda. Alrighty, moving on to our last item of new business, we have the discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority and Lake County School District for the development of the Lake County School District property as affordable housing. And we have this led by our County Attorney, Karis Floyd.
And I had texted Jackie to come down in case there were questions too, but essentially y'all might recall we had a work session with DOLA regarding the grant that they awarded for the infrastructure and the intent to use that for the school district property under consideration. And at the time, we were under the impression that that property needed to be transferred to the county in order to do that, but then DOLA said they didn't really care, and the school district was, well, what happens if for some reason the county ends up not being in a position to take things vertical once that's done. So to address their concerns, the recommendation was made to enter into an IGA for the school district to lease the property to the county with an option to purchase it while that infrastructure work is done, because the grant needs to be spent within a specific period of time by April 2025, and just making sure that we can get that work done by then. So this is out for approval by the school district. It will go to the Regional Housing Authority's board next week for review and approval, as I understand as well. I wanted to get it in front of y'all, not necessarily for approval today if you haven't had a chance to review it, but for awareness, and so that you will review it, understand what the terms are, and let us know if you have concerns with those terms and such. And then I would ask for final approval, I presume, to be put on the next board meeting once the housing authority and the school district have approved it as well, so that we can sign off on it then. So, or you could approve it today pending final legal review, whatever your preference is. But this has been fully vetted and all the terms and such have been approved by the attorneys for the housing authority, the school district, and myself.
And I see in the sorry, item 11, under the agreement language, I just wanna make note that it's 11B, there shall be no purchase price for the property.
Right.
Meaning and intending, with all intentions that the school intends to contribute this land to the housing authority project, as kind of summarized in the recitals above. And so that's, I just wanna kind of reiterate that.
Yeah, but this isn't, they're not going to be charging the county anything for it. The other thing too, one of the reasons for the option, you'll notice there's provision in there for the option that it can also be assigned to the housing authority, because it's my understanding that once we get to the point of going vertical with the project, that the housing authority will need to own the property at that point in time. So instead of the county purchasing it and then having to in turn transfer it to the housing authority, we can just assign the option to the housing authority for them to purchase it directly at no cost.
Okay. I don't have any questions on the agreement, and I'm happy to proceed as the rest of the board is comfortable with.
Yeah, we still are waiting for the legal description of the property from the school district's attorney. They're putting that together. And then the form of deed restriction that's been attached to it that will go with the property as well. So my suggestion would be, if you wish to proceed with approving it, it would be approve it pending final legal review, so we can finish filling in those blanks and get confirmation of approval from the school board and the housing authority before y'all actually sign off on it.
Okay.
Did I understand right, so the deed restriction that would be attached to the property we don't have that in the packet.
No,
right?
it is, yeah, there's the sample
Sorry.
one is, what we're waiting for is the legal description for the property.
Okay,
Hasn't been set, and that's the school district's attorney is putting that together to insert that.
And the deed restriction language still, though, maybe getting perhaps to your question, is not yet determined on like a rental or homeownership,
No.
because that part of it.
It's
But to
just
have
for
that example
residential.
that was a
Okay.
big request from the school
Yes.
district of, we want to make sure that this deed restriction is in place, and of course, that's a requirement also of DOLA and
Yes.
everyone's intention of the project. So there is that example, to just show the best intentions and
Exactly.
the actual intention of
Yes.
all partners, to put that in there,
Okay.
or to include that on the properties. Happy to, as Chris mentioned, we can move this to, our December 5th meeting as well, and just
Wait for the final.
wait and share with the Board of Education that we don't have, any other changes.
That's
Or
what I would,
questions
because they're
after.
waiting to hear back from us too, and that's why I wanted it on the agenda for today, to see if y'all had a chance to review it, if you had any comments, questions, or concerns on the draft agreement before it's presented to their board for approval.
I don't, and I think with them seeing a new board like tomorrow, I think we can just tell them that we don't have any questions or comments, and that once we have those final pieces in there, then we can approve at our first meeting in December.
Okay.
I think it's fine for us to table it till December.
that makes sense to me.
Right, and there isn't a
Sounds good.
timeline with DOLA for, like, you have to have this approved before the end of November kind of thing for the grant stuff.
Well, I'm not aware, that's why I was kind of hoping that Jackie be at the meeting on it, because I know she's expressed is that this is the only thing standing in the way of final approval, whatever, from DOLA. So that's why we were hoping to get it teed up as quick as possible.
Okay.
I think it's kind of this moving target of what comes first, the approval of the land acquisition and or the RFP and the notice to proceed from DOLA, so, if we might be flexible, squeezing in, should we have to, a special meeting
That's what I was
following
gonna say, we
the
can do
next
that
Board of
too.
Education meeting, to make sure that that hits DOLA's, all of those points of engagement and
Yeah.
getting proposals for the infrastructure work.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain the motion to, communicate back to the Board of Education that the Board of Commissioners has no issue with the drafted, IGA and agreement language, and that we will table this item to our December 5th meeting unless, a special meeting scheduled sooner is necessary.
So moved?
Second,
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
none for me.
Great, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent, thank you, Chris. Thank you for working on that. That was challenging over the last several months. All right. All right, and last on our agenda, we have our consent agenda, which includes the approval of the Veteran Services Report, the approval of various sets of minutes, and the approval of our October 20th and November 3rd payroll. I did have one question on one set of the minutes. On August 18th was a special meeting, and that was a meeting where we discussed the letter of interest for the land banking and the infrastructure. The only thing listed in the minutes was the failed motion to approve the land banking. But I have in my notes that we unanimously approved moving forward with the infrastructure letter of interest, and that's not noted in this meeting, so I'm wondering if we can ask maybe the clerk's office or Cindy. I think Cindy took notes on that one.
Which minutes was it?
August 18th special meeting.
Yeah.
To kind of listen and look at notes on that meeting's minutes for us. But other than that, the rest of them, I had no comments or changes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved,
Second,
Any further discussion?
none for me, thank you.
maybe you could also check for the correct spelling of my last name.
Throughout all of them, mostly?
It's inconsistent.
Okay, all right. Would you write that down for us
It's
as
super
well?
common to just feel their like order of corrects, not people, so.
Right.
All right, and to ask for the spelling of Commissioner Fiedler's name be reviewed. Thank you. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Not for me.
Okay, well, sorry, for clarity, we're not gonna approve the 18th, and we'll table that to the next
Right.
meeting. Thank you, okay.
Not approve the 18th, go through for spelling corrections, but you guys will sign the other
On
ones.
his
minus
name.
the 18th.
And we'll do that.
Yes.
You got it. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, and that concludes our meeting for today. We'll adjourn at 11:57. Appreciate it. Thank you.